Good. Okay, guys. Live here at the stage at WTJU, the sounds of Lúnasa, who are in this very area, Central Virginia, this night for a concert, thanks to our friends at the Blue Ridge Irish Music School, presented in part by WTJU over at the Haven. Then, if you happen to be down Georgia way, they'll be at the University of Georgia on Thursday, and Raleigh Friday, Greenville, South Carolina Saturday, Savannah Music Festival Sunday, and closing things up in Asheville, North Carolina on Tuesday. So chock-a-block full of great opportunities to catch Lúnasa once again, that they're all back together on this side of the pond. Well, welcome back to WTJU.
Great to be here, Peter. How are you doing?
Oh, great to have you back here, Kevin.
Yeah.
So many questions to ask after, well, 5 years since we've seen you here in town, but these last couple of years, what's it been like not being able to get out there and tour as Lúnasa?
Yeah, it was, what a shock to the system for all of us, all musicians, all artists. It was quite bizarre, but no one expected it to go on as long as it did. And initially there was that little almost phase where you were thinking, yeah, a couple of weeks off would be nice. And then it was like, oh yeah, even 4 weeks I could do this. Is getting a little bit of a break. And then it just became just more obvious as the time wore on that we weren't going to get out and about for quite some time. Yeah, it impacts every aspect of our lives. Like, we've been touring for 25 years, and you know, we kind of hang out so much together that there was it wasn't just the touring, it was the chemistry thing. You know, you kind of lose your community like at that point. So it's been weird, but just phasing our kind of way back in, easing our way back into things. We did a couple of shows, well, more than a couple. We did a little kind of run of gigs before Christmas. And it was lovely, but it still felt a little bit strange. But this time out, certainly for me anyway, it does feel like, yeah, I've shook off all of the kind of negativity associated with the last couple of years, and this feels good, and the audiences seem way more chill too. So it's.
Well, you talk about 25 years together, and of course, does it count as 25 years when you're not together? Or so are we celebrating 25 this year? Or?
No, it's not counted. No.
Okay.
I'm still 50 as well. Yeah. We kind
all
of
right.
Whatever. We'll knock those on the head. But I guess 97 we started. So yeah. I suppose we'll take the 25. We'll still call it 25.
Yeah, there's a rock band led by one of the former members of Nirvana, and they had a big world tour set for last year, and they had gotten all their merchandise for 25 years, and they had to scrap it all, just donate it to Goodwill, and start all over.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes, but it is lovely to be back out, and we're 3 weeks in, and it's been a nice varied kind of run as well. You know, we started off doing the first week on our own. Then we had Derry Farrell, one of the singers that featured on our last album. He toured with us for the last 9 or 10 days. And Colin Farrell joined us on the fiddle for the 2 fiddles for a couple of the shows as well. And now we're here going out as the instrumental band again. And tomorrow we have Cara Butler joining us. And we'll just keep it interesting and mix it up a bit.
Well, as you said, it's good to be back out on the road together. So.
Yeah.
Letting the music speak for you. Well, let's go over to you for a second, Killian, and let's talk about what you were up to for these last couple years.
Well, I was doing a bit of playing. I was playing in the pubs around New York, so thankfully they opened maybe after about 3 months, and hardly anybody would play, and I just says I'll go for it, you know. So I ended up playing quite a few pub gigs, and that kept me going. As you know, as Kevin says, you wouldn't see anybody in the music world if you didn't go out. So I was doing a fair bit of playing, and then I have 3 young children, and my wife was working, so I spent a fair bit of the time doing homeschooling, Zoom meetings, and computer work with the children, and you know, that wasn't easy, but the time flew as a result, really, you know.
And you got to spend some time with the kids that you might not have otherwise.
Yeah, I know them better than I did.
Well, a lot of musicians said, you know, it's the first time when they got to actually see spring, or they actually plant their own garden.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was definitely a lot of good things about it on a family level and stuff like that. I suppose the fear for us was that maybe when it all ended, there wouldn't be any gigs. There'd be nothing to come back to. So many venues were on the brink of closing, and a lot of people left their jobs or had no job. And like people that book the gigs, or a lot of agents retired or were fired or whatever, and so you'd worry that there's no sort of structure left, but it seems okay, and the crowds have been great in this tour. So that's definitely surprised me. I thought like most gigs are full. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought that might be another couple of years.
Well, I think as the musicians were dying to play, I think folks like me were waiting to get out there and actually experience live music again. We were having 4 to 6 live acts a week here on our own stage, and all of a sudden we had to cut the cord, and it was... So I'm just sitting there at home, and I was doing a lot of Zoom interviews with musicians all over the globe, but it's not quite the same as hearing live music. So,
no, I think the support that lovers of the music and supporters, like people that have followed us over this kind of course of the Lunasa career, if you like, they stayed with us even during the pandemic. We did a couple of online concerts, and the people that tuned in from all over the world and watched them and donated and supported us in that way. Or I was doing a lot of teaching during COVID, and I know that a lot of this people took up instruments almost as a way of just kind of being there to support me, like showing up, and hopefully they've learned a few things in the course of it too. But it's just and now that we're back out on the road, I see a lot of the same people. They're coming out. They want to get back to live music, but they're also coming out to give us a leg up now that we're back, and to show that solidarity thing. It's remarkable. Like, very, very grateful to that element. Yeah,
we're all one community, as they say. So it's
for sure.
And I know there's a big community out there watching right now who want to hear some more music. So how about I get out of the way and let you all do another one for us?
Yeah, we'll try something a little slower this time. That initial set we played was a medley of 3 different dances, a march, and an old-time American tune and a Scottish reel. This time we're going to play a tune that we recorded on our second album, so it's quite a ways away since we played it. But this is Sean's first tour with us in 8 years. Sean was looking after everybody in Ireland. He's a doctor, so he was flat out during the pandemic, that's for sure. But he's back out playing fiddling and fluting, and this is one of the old sets we thought we'd resurrect from the early period. It's called The Miller of Drohan. Playing note, we should be tuning up for this. Okay. 3, 4.
An old little set there from Lúnasa here at the stage at WTJU as they stop by ahead of their concert here in Charlottesville tonight over at the Haven, brought to you by Brims, the Blue Ridge Irish Music School, and WTJU. And they're winding their way down south all the way to Georgia, then back to North Carolina, and then back down to South Carolina, and come back north after that to North Carolina before they go their own separate ways for a short while. And you can find out all those tour details over at lunasamusic.com. And, of course, we've always got a link up at WTJU.net as well. Well, Kevin, would you mind going down the line and just making sure everyone's introduced properly with the right names instead of my anglicizing it?
I might deliberately give them the wrong references here. I'll go over there, starting at the far right of the stage as you're looking at it there. Young gentleman from Cookstown in County Tyrone, one of the founding members of the band. He's our kind of fulcrum, if you like, and he's also like the brains behind the engineering and the technical side of things. Trevor's recorded a lot of our albums and he's produced a lot of our albums, and does a lot of studio work outside of even the band's work. And that's Trevor Hutchinson over there, mighty man. Woo! Then his partner in crime on the guitar. Gosh, I mean, who hasn't this gentleman played with? He's been involved in the Celtic folk Irish scene for a number of years. He's played with all of the greats, really. Was a member of Michael McGoldrick's band, member of Fluke. He's played with Cara Dillon. Oh gosh, he's done loads of stuff. But his favourite gig is, of course, playing with Lúnasa. And his name is Ed Boyd. Woohoo! Then we come to the man in the middle on the fiddle and playing whistles there, as you just heard. Also a founding member and hailing from County Mayo, but resides in Galway. And it's just an absolute pleasure to have Sean back out on the road and playing again. He's just a great musician. Recorded his soul album way back, and it was on the back of that Lúnasa kind of started. That's Mr. Sean Smyth. Woohoo! Woohoo! I'll shout for you, Sean, if no one else does. I'll keep you. Yeah.
Glad to have the doc back with us.
Great to have, every band should have a doctor. You know that. Like, I was in another band that had a doctor, so I'm kind of used to it. Then my partner here to my left, we've recorded a couple of albums together, and we've played in Lúnasa for all these years, coming from County Armagh. And as you're probably aware, because you've been keeping in touch, he says very little on stage, but he does all the communicating off stage. The brains behind the operation, piper extraordinaire, Mr. Killian Vallely. Whoa.
Indeed.
That's them.
And Killian, I'll let you take it from here.
And this is Mr. Kevin Crawford, living in New York City, but originally from Birmingham, England.
Yes.
And County Clare.
Yeah, I spread it out a bit. I like to spread the love, you know.
Kevin, I've got to ask, that bicycle accident was a few years ago, but did you do much bicycling over the pandemic?
Oh gosh, yeah. Thank God the fitness thing kept me sane. Biking was still an option. You could head on up the Hudson and head up across the George Washington Bridge and not see anybody and get out and get fresh air and do all that. I think, I also kind of spent a bit of time down in the Jersey Shore. A friend of mine let me stay in a place down there, and that was good to do a bit of swimming and running and stuff as well. So, kept the head straight. I think locked down in the apartment in Brooklyn for the full 2 years, I would have really lost the plot, I think.
Trevor, I'm going to try to get you over to that center mic so we can ask you questions. Did you get many opportunities last couple of years to record some folks?
Yeah, well, for a lot of the time, I wasn't actually able to have anyone in the studio.
Right.
So we were kind of restricted to, small numbers and households and things. So it was kind of pretty challenging, but managed to do a couple of projects. Did a couple of children's theatre things with a guy called Thomas Johnson. That was kind of fun, doing something totally different, and did some sound for a documentary that Killian's cousin's been doing. So that kind of kept me out of mischief for a while. And then the Lúnasa online concerts were sort of an interesting technical challenge.
Yeah, no, it was amazing from the start to the finish watching how the sound evolved with groups. You know, first just throwing that one mic out or just trying to use their little iPhone
Yeah.
to pick everyone up. But with time, you know, it got better and better. And
Well, it just had to be whatever you could throw together and make work.
Yeah.
So
well, it's been 4 years since the last album came out. Is there conversation about in the next year or so putting laying something down, or
there's maybe a conversation about a conversation. It's
All
about
right.
as close as we've got. We're not really there yet, but we will have to think about it. Yeah.
well, there's
for
certain
sure,
questions I shouldn't ask. Like I've stopped asking Kevin what's happening with the teetotalers
Oh,
because I know that lost recording is never going to surface, but we keep looking for it.
Yeah.
Mm.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
And let's get the good doctor up there for a second. So
Good doctor.
obviously you
yeah.
had something going
Yeah.
on to keep you busy the last couple of years that wasn't music.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm a general practitioner, so I was front line for head-on meeting this virus and how it dealt and its effects on the patients and all my friends and all that. So it was a very worrying time, but thankfully science kicked in and we got our vaccine and we're in a much different place now, and it's not at all as stressful really at the moment because there are many options out there for people, so it's great.
But were you able to just take your mind off of things, go home and play a little bit yourself?
It was very busy at the time, and I was working in a lot of nursing home situations, so I had to isolate for about 6 months. So I literally didn't see anyone for about 6 months, and then it was in and out of work, and that's the way it was. So I did play some music, but it's not the same as sitting
no.
down. If you're used to playing with your friends and a band like this, it's you can play a little bit at home, but it's not the same. And so looking forward to getting out and getting back to playing tunes and communicating again. I think part of it, I must say that I took a lot for granted, even going out to play a tune with friends in a session in a pub or something like that. But I would never take it for granted again after the experience that we've been through. So, no, it's a big part of quality of life and part of my life, playing music and connecting with people, and that's really one of my great social outlets, and I'm delighted it's back. So, yeah.
Well, I've got questions for Ed, but I think I'm going to get out of the way and let you all play another one before I bring the guitarist to the mic.
Good.
So.
Do you mind, Kelly?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
Live here at the stage, the sounds of Lúnasa. They're in the midst of a tour through the U.S. and especially the East Coast. They're here in Charlottesville tonight over at the Haven. All the details on that, brimstunes.org. Then they're going to be heading down to Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina before wrapping things up in Asheville next Tuesday. So make sure you check out lunasamusic.com. Well, I've chatted with all the musicians so far except for the guitarist. And Ed, I'm curious, I want to see if you're the exception or the rule. Most guitarists of different genres, when I ask how many guitars I have, it's not unheard to say, 15 or 20, but Irish musicians, guitarists, don't typically have that many. So I'm going to ask and see whether you're the exception or the rule. How many do you have at home?
I've got 6 acoustics.
That's a good number for an Irish guitarist.
Yeah, half a dozen. Yeah, I can only bring one on the road, traveling a great distance like we are here, because you can imagine flights and things. It's just too much bother. But I have built up a small collection over the year. But I'm very old, you see, so it's been a long and painful process, Pete.
I understand completely, but that is your war horse that you typically take with you on the road.
Yeah, it's a local guitar to me. I live in Somerset, in England actually, and this one comes from a man called Johnny Kincaid in Bristol, and I like the local connection, and it feels very solid. And I never really, I don't worry or fret about it. It's quite a good guitar pun,
Kevin sounds like he's disputing that.
No, it's the fret.
No,
the reference to the
fret
fret.
Okay.
It was
Gotcha.
Unusually funny for Ed. That was.
Yeah, but it wasn't intentional. It just popped out like that.
Well, and I'm just curious, we've heard what everyone else was up to over the last couple of years. Did you find yourself just strumming along at home, or what kept you busy?
Not that much, I have to admit. It would have been great to have, but I'm in a similar situation to Killian in that I've got 2 young girls, so quite a lot of my time was spent with them, getting them to school and nursery and cooking and doing that type of thing. So I did do a little bit of teaching, and I wrote a little bit of music, not as much as I wanted to, but yes, I was gloriously inactive, I have to say.
I was chatting with Jerry Douglas just at the start of the pandemic. He said, after being on the road for 50 years, I'm liking it, and I've got enough side projects that people have been wanting me to record. I can sit in my own studio. But then about 8 months later, I ran into him. He goes, I'm ready to get back out, Peter. He said, forget what I told you. So.
Yeah, it is great to get to live shows, that's for sure.
That's the thing. I think if you're not a soloist, which obviously, any of these 3 great melody players here could do solo things, play on their own. But personally speaking, that's not what I do, and possibly for Trevor as well. Our role is generally to play with other people, and when that's not there, you really notice it. So it's great that things have taken a turn for the better.
Well, this tour it started when?
March 1st. Yeah, okay. Seattle, West Coast. My gosh, it does seem like a while ago. We started in Seattle and went over to Oregon and meandered around California for a while, and then zipped into the Midwest. And, we've encountered good weather, bad weather. And it's great to be actually finishing the tour like in T-shirts, and this is nice. We're happy to be back. Charlottesville's always been a really great place for us. We were chatting on the way in, remember those early gigs in the Prism?
Yeah.
Fred Boyce, and like lovely rooms, great people, coming in and playing in Charlottesville like over the years, and thanks to Maggie Murphy. Remember all those lovely shows?
No, of course, with Maggie,
fantastic. Yeah, I was saying we were chatting last week, and we saw Viu Fakaturi's name on a poster, and we said, gosh, I remember we played with him in Charlottesville. There was a gig that Maggie put on, and then we've come in and out with Brims on a few kind of projects, duets and combos and teetotalers and whatever, and with Lúnasa, and it's really lovely to be back at the Haven. So yeah, we're afraid to say like anything in case we jinx it, but it's lovely. This is really good. Yeah.
Well, and I just want to encourage folks while they're in the midst of this tour, really in the last week, if you go to their website, there's nothing else lined up. So this is the time, especially here in the U.S., to catch them in these last 7 days, because right now we don't know where they're going after this. It's possible they may not hit the U.S. again for, well, Andy Irvine hasn't been here in 8-9 years now. So, I'm not saying they're going to pull an Andy Irvine, but
you got to strike while the iron's hot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of striking while the iron is hot, how about another one?
Yeah, we'll chance. Do you want to go for the store? Yeah. We'll. This is a. We're going to start off with the melody of an old Irish song, actually. A Store McCree, well-known melody, "Love of My Heart," and this particular version that we play is based on that of a singer from County Clare who I heard often when I was growing up. His name was Ollie Conway, came from just outside Milltown Malbay, little village called Mullock. And then the second tune is associated with a musician from just down the road from there, slightly more famous, Junior Crehan, fine fiddle player, composer of tunes, concertina player, Shanachie, and this is one of his tunes. It's called The Stack of Rye. It's one of a collection of tunes known as the Four Stacks. There was the stack of oats, the stack of wheat, the stack of barley, and the stack of rye. There you go. And the last tune is a jig that Killian brought to the band, and I think it's known as Ladies Come Up to Tea. Very grand title for a very beautiful jig. Okay.
at the stage at WTJU, the sounds of Lúnasa, who are in Charlottesville this very night for a concert over at the Haven. You can find out more about that at brimstunes.org and head over to lunasamusic.com to see where they will be performing in this next week before they close up shop for this tour and head their separate ways.
Yep.
Well, before I let you all go, and we've got folks watching all over the globe right now on our YouTube and Facebook channels in Germany, Japan, so all over the U.S. And
Anyone in Ireland? No, no one in Ireland.
can you believe it? I don't understand it. Hey, this is a different part of Ireland altogether, but I just watched the movie Belfast. I don't know if any of you had a chance to watch that, and and the theme is, even when you leave Ireland, you're always back home. So I imagine for the five of you, even when you're not together, you're back home the moment you step back together.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that connection. Yeah, I mean, Ireland. I think it's part of your DNA. You can be anywhere, and you're still at home if you connect with that, But it's going to be nice having the opportunity to actually step onto the soil again. I dipped in for just a few days there in February. When this tour finishes, Ed and Trevor and Sean and I, we all head across the pond again. I'm going to be in Ireland for 3 weeks, which is nice, and I'm sure Cillian has plans to go back during the holidays, the summer as well. So who knows? We might do the album when we're in Ireland.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah, there you go. There's. Yeah, can we put it in the calendar now? Okay.
Well, for two of you, Cillian, you and Kevin are both New York based, right? So the other three are based in Ireland. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when's the last time you were able to get back across the pond?
Well, I actually went twice last year.
Okay.
I went in July to see my parents and brothers and sisters. I brought my kids, and it was a bit strange because it still hadn't really opened up yet. It was, the bars weren't really open and very few restaurants. But it was actually a heat wave, so the whole country went to the beach, which was unusual, but it was great. But then I went again in November to play. My father has a piping festival every November, William Kennedy Piping Festival, and I was hired to play at that, so I had a good excuse to go a second time. So hopefully, I think I'm going to go in June again. Lunasa has a gig, and
Do we?
I'll probably.
Somebody better tell Kevin.
Hang on now.
He wasn't invited.
Jeez.
And I'll probably make a week out of that anyway and see everybody. But I bring my children to Ireland every summer for 3 or 4 weeks. So that's written in stone.
Good. And you said you got back once last year.
I did. I had to go back. It was to get my. I had to go back so that I'd be allowed to stay in America.
Yeah,
I had
it's
to
one
get
of those
my
strange
visa.
things.
It's crazy. I have to go to Ireland to get a visa to come back to stay in America. So I did that, and it was literally just an in and out kind of a thing. And I did get a couple of days at home in County Clare. But I've been pre-COVID. I'd started to do a bus tour with a musical bus tour along the Wild Atlantic Way, and I'd done one of those, and I was supposed to do the second one in April of 2020 when everything went belly up, and then it was rolled over to 2021, and then that was rolled over, and here we are. We're doing it from the 2nd of April to the 10th, so it's going to be great. Really excited, and 50 excitable and excited people on the road with me.
Of course, you'll have your flute with you, but are you allowing any of the other folks on the bus to bring any instruments along?
Oh, absolutely,
or?
yeah.
Okay.
It's funny. The first one I did, there was 26 on that tour, and I'd say 20 of the 26 were seasoned players, and it's going to be similar this time. I know a lot of the people that are doing it, to be honest, and yeah, it's going to be good.
Speaking of good folks, if you happen to be in Charlottesville tonight, head down to the Haven. You can, I think the show starts at 7:30, so make sure you get down there. It's a beautiful space, and of course, a chance to catch Lúnasa. And if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia way, check out lunasamusic.com for all the details on where they'll be playing. Might I entice one more from you before you walk out the door?
Yep. You want to do the wedding? Yeah. May as well. We're going to go right back here, if you don't mind as well, Peter. We're going to try a set of tunes that I think we've recorded this 3 times. Well, it's featured on 3 albums. We did it initially on the Merry Sisters of Fate. Then it appeared on, it was a different recording, but we played it on a collection, The Best Of, that came out a number of years ago. And then we also recorded with an orchestra, the album we did with the RT Concert Orchestra. So it's a set of tunes called Good Morning Nightcap. And look forward to seeing everybody tonight. And thank you so much for having us. Like, really great. WTJU, we love it. Gorgeous.
Well, thrilled to get you back. Killian Vallely, Trevor Hutchinson, Kevin Crawford, Ed Boyd, and Sean Smyth, collectively known as Lúnasa. Check them out at lunasamusic.com and catch them on this tour, including tonight right here in Charlottesville at the Haven. We're going to send things back to me in the Air Studio.